I apologise for the slow start. I always get a bit. It gets difficult when I'm in different places presenting. But that's. Having said that, let's begin. Let's open with a word of prayer. Holy God, we thank you for your goodness and mercy. I want to ask and pray that you would guide us and bless us during these sacred Sabbath hours. It's a great privilege to come together during this special time, not only special in this week, but in Earth's history. Momentous events are happening all around us, and we thank you that we have the privilege of being able to congregate together to discuss, to share, and to observe what's happening all around us. In Jesus' name, Amen. So just want to was that me? Yes. Oh, is that better? Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry
Yes.
It got so quiet. I changed the setting inadvertently. I'm sorry about that. So I have my chat open. I don't know if we use chat on your local fellowship group. But please just raise your hands. On my screen, I've only got myself and my iPad showing, so I don't have anybody else showing. But if you want to just put your audio on and just shout, I'd like to have it interactive if possible. Okay. I'm not an expert at this. It's just that when I have two screens at the same time, it's very difficult for me to have other people on my computer screen to see them, their videos. Hope that's okay with everybody. So, received a couple of questions recently, and I just wanted to go through some of them. So I'm just trying to think of the best way to do this. Okay, so this is from number one. And they've asked a question which comes up regularly. Okay, so I was just trying to summarize the question. So the question is, what is the Sunday law waymark? And I guess like most people, the questioner, myself and yourselves have had various options, and I've discussed this several times in recent presentations. What options do people want to give? Maybe you could open your audios up. If I was to ask, what waymarks would you suggest, or dates or events for the Sunday law?
The whole year of 2024.
Someone said the whole year of 2024. Did I get that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you mind if I have someone's name, because I want to come back to some of these points. Was that Gloria?
Gloria ere? Yes.
Okay. I hope you don't. Is that okay to put your name there next to that question? Or is that statement?
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else?
It's Christine, November 5th,
Christine
2024.
November 5, 2024.
Anyone else? No other options?
Other people have said July during the RNC. I don't know the right date, July something.
Vamwana vakati July pakati pe-RNC.
We'll put July 18.
July something. Saka toisa July 18.
And that was Christine as well. Was that you, Christine? Yes?
Yeah, but I can't defend it because I don't understand it.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I've heard some people say January 20th when Trump takes the presidency. But that's just something I've heard. Logic.
Okay. Does anybody else have any options besides those four?
Pane imwe option here pa isiri 4 idzi.
Okay, we'll go with those four. I'll go to Christine. Christine gave the answer for 3 dates. You said that you can't defend July 18th, Christine. Does that mean you're willing to defend something else? Or you have a position?
I have a position on November 5th.
Okay,
why do you say November the 5th?
Okay, because
the day that everyone decided, everyone chose, not just the Republicans, but everybody chose a side. And they put it down on paper. I mean, they had already chosen, but that's the day that they wrote it down. Everyone in the United States.
So I'm going to go back to, so on point 2, you're saying that the marker is voting,
yes,
decision, and you're saying it's everybody.
Everyone in the United States.
Yes. Okay. So just so that we're clear, when we talk about the Sunday law waymark, my understanding is, according to Spirit of Prophecy, that however Ellen White defined what that waymark began as, and I don't think she's very clear on that, it's quite vague. She would mark it as both a point in history, which we call a waymark, and also a period of time.
Yes.
Hopefully we will agree with that. And somewhere in the midst of that history is what we would call, or what Ellen White would call, the loud cry. And it would be closed or ended by the term that we use, the close of probation. Does anybody have a comment on that or disagree with it? If there's no comment and no disagreement, I'm assuming that means we all agree.
So the Sunday law time has to come after the period. So the point. So the point you're showing is Sunday law is the point, and then the time for it has to come after the point.
Then time period
that's my understanding of all of this ideology, all of these theories, these ideas we have about the thing that we call the Sunday law, or we might now call the Great Test, which is a term that we borrow from Ellen White anyway. That graphic that I've just put is my, I guess, condensed understanding of what she proposes, what she teaches. So the answer is yes. For you to ask that question, does that mean that you might have a different thought on that?
Yeah. Because if it's a period of time, then that RNC could have fallen in that Sunday law period of time. So it could have started before then, like at the RNC. And then if the Sunday law period of time is 2024, then when 2025 hits, we have close of probation. For addressing what that Gloria said, that 2024 is Sunday law period.
Period.
So that would change. That could change our answers.
I'm going to ask Gloria what she thinks in a moment. Let's concentrate on, let's focus on your answer. Does this change your understanding? When I asked you the question, what's the Sunday law waymark? I presume all of us are in agreement what a waymark is. Sometimes we might say that a waymark is a period of time. But as soon as you start doing that, it gets a bit squishy, if I can use that phrase. A waymark is more often than not an event. And the reason we tend to want to extend that is either we don't have, is because we don't have enough information, and that's either because there isn't enough information, or it's because we haven't discovered enough information. It's the mark of our ignorance. So when we take this idea of the Sunday law waymark, and we had 3 different dates, number 2, 3, and 4. Those are specific, if you want to call them days or events, and there's enough information straight from the Spirit of Prophecy. We don't have to even go to our line or previous waymarks to show that Sunday laws last a period of time. Ellen White will tell us that. So when we were talking about November 5th, July 18th, January the 20th, we're talking about a specific event. Then the question would be, where would that event be on this line? And maybe it's not wise for us to assume things. I say that to myself, but when someone asked that question, I assumed that they were talking about the waymark that begins the Sunday law history, or the Sunday law period, or the Sunday law dispensation. And we know from various models that can be understood in different ways. So this period of the Sunday law history, on the line of the Nephilim, what would we call that? Anybody?
Pananda kutsva here.
What dispensation is this in the line of the Nethinims?
Dispensation ripi muline
The harvest?
Yeah, their harvest.
Ansire harvest.
Okay, so if we're familiar with a dispensation that's called the harvest,
dispensation rinonzi harvest.
then I hope we're all comfortable
Then
with the idea that the Sunday law
nefungwa yekuti Sunday law
period of time
period yenguva.
is that it's a period of
Kuti
time,
iyoyo period
and
yenguva.
we can use different models to
Zvakare togona kushandisa
indicate that it's
mamoto
the harvest
akasiyana
of the
kuratidza
Nethinims.
kuti ndipo panokohwewa manethinims.
So
Naizvozvo
if that's the case,
kana iriyo nyaya
then
yacho
when people ask what the
vanhu
Sunday law
pavanozofunza kuti
waymark is,
waymark resunday law nderipi,
I'm not suggesting that
handisi
there is only
kusuggesta
one
kuti
event
pane
that happens
chiitiko
in that
one
time
chete
period. In fact,
chinoitika
I'm
panguva iyoyo.
suggesting the complete opposite of that.
Tosuggesta zviri
The question
opposite
is, when
naizvozvo.
would we
Mubvunzo
begin
ndewekuti
this
tinoitanga
dispensation? And that's
dispensation
what we're
iyi
asking.
riini,
At least that's what I'm
ndozvatirikubvunza,
asking,
at least
because I think that's what the
ndozvandobvunza,
questioner is
nekuti
asking.
ndozviri
What is
kubvunzwa
a
nemunhu
Sunday
ari
law
kubvunza.
waymark?
Waymark
So
resunday law
going back to
nderipi.
Christine,
Saka
number
todzokera kuna
2,
Christine.
you
Number
said
2
it's November the 5th
wati ndiNovember 5
because
nekuda kwekuti
it's when everybody in the United
ndopapo
States
munhu wese
makes a decision,
wekuunited states
and it's
anoita
related
sarudzo.
to voting.
Izvi
So
neukama nekuvhota.
are you suggesting or
Saka
still saying that
urikusuggesta here kana kuti uchiri
this
kutaura kuti
waymark
waymark
here
iri pano
is November 5th?
ndiro November 5?
Oh,
Was that a no?
you're right. No, because if
Kwete.
see, I was under the impression that the Sunday law was a
Ndachingofunga
test,
kuti Sunday
and I
law
figured,
itest.
well, the
Ndazoona
test
kuti
would
aiwa
be where everybody wrote down
test
their
ndo munhu
answer,
wese paanonyora mhinduro
and that
yake
would be the election day, right?
nderinenge riri zuva
But if that
resarudzo.
go ahead.
Kasi
But if it's a period of
kana iri
time,
period
then
yenguva,
the RNC had
then
already taken
RNC
their test
vange
earlier,
vatoita test yavo
so
kare.
it would have
Saka
then it would probably have had to been in
vanenge
July or before then.
ichifanira kunge iri July kana
Before
kumashure
July?
kumashure kwaJuly.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Handinyatsoziva pamwe.
At least by July 18th,
At
when the
least
RNC
pana
made
July
their
18
decision.
RNC pavanoita sarudzo yavo.
If it's like the
Kana kuri
beginning of
kutanga
the Sunday law.
kweSunday law.
So when you said November the 5th,
Saka pawaiti November 5,
where would you have placed November the 5th on this line?
November 5 waizoisa papi paline iri.
At the
Before I-
test.
Patest.
At the test, where the Sunday law marker is.
Patest apo panomakwa
Which
Sunday
is where
law.
I've just placed it.
Panoapa
Yeah. But
pandaiisa
that was before and
hongu asi ndo before
knowing that the Sunday law is a
ziva kuti
period of
Sunday law
time
iperiod yenguva
after the point.
after point yacho.
Because people had already
Nekuti
made up their mind. There
vanhu
was
vakanga vatoita
all of the Republicans had already taken the
sarudzo
test
dzavo,
and already made up their
Republicans vanga
mind.
vatora
So let
test
me ask you a
yavo
different question. When's the harvest
vaita
of the Nethinims?
sarudzo yavo. Saka ndikubvunze mumwe mubvunzo
We just
wakasiyana. Harvest
said in the Sunday
yemanethinims
law
iri papi.
period of time.
Tangoti
And
paSunday
Between
law
if I
Sunday
period
law
of time.
close of probation.
So if I were to say,
Saka kana
when
denda
does
iti
the harvest
harvest
begin?
inotanga papi.
You'd say,
Waiti
At the Sunday law?
paSunday law.
here?
Apa
Isn't it? Am I confused? Is it,
apasiripo here kana
or is it
kuti
after
confusion.
it can't be after close of probation, right? Because then it's already done.
Inogona kutanga after
Elaine
close of
already
probation
and
nekuti
several
inenge
others
zvatopera.
said that
Elena
it's
nevamwe vati
the Sunday law
Sunday
dispensation.
law dispensation.
Yeah.
And so if I were to ask, when
Saka
does the
kana
harvest
denda ifunza
begin?
kuti
You would
harvest
begin it where I
inotanga
put this
papi.
arrow.
Waiitanga pandaisa aro here.
Yes.
Hongu.
Okay, so
Alright.
it's not a trick question.
Saka
I'm
haisi
just,
trick question.
so when we talk about the
Saka
harvest,
patinotaura
it must have a beginning
nezveharvest
point
inofanira
and
kuva
an
ine
end point
painotangira
and a duration.
nepainogumira nenguva yainotora.
Right.
Ndizvozvo.
Yep.
Right.
So when I asked above here, when is the Sunday law
Saka
waymark?
pandabvunza apa pamusoro
We had
kuti
a generic
waymark
answer
Sunday
to number
law.
1,
Ah.
and then we had 3 specific
Tatine number 1.
answers. So when I
General
asked
answer.
you,
Then tikaita ma-answer specific
you said
ari
you can't
3.
defend July,
Pandakubvunza
and
wati
you
haugoni
just
kudefenda
said some
July.
people have said
Wangoti
January,
vamwe
you've heard that one.
January
But you said that
wakazonzwa.
you were
Asi
looking
iwe
for November the
wati
5th.
waitsvaga November 5.
What waymark where would you have placed that? If I gave
Waizoisa
these numbers
waymark
1,
ripi?
if I said this was
Dendaisa
1,
kuti iyi
2,
1,
or
iyi
3,
2, iyi
or would
3.
it be, somewhere in between?
Yaiva iri
Where
pamwe
were
pakati
you
here.
thinking November the 5th
Iwo
should
November
be on
5
this
waifunga
line,
kuti yange ichifanira
if
kunge iri
not at the
papi
beginning?
paline iri kana pasiri pekutanga.
Well, before this class, I would have put it where you have it written down at the Sunday law point.
ndandichazoisa
Okay, number
pawainyorawo
one.
pasunday law point
Okay,
panumber
so
1.
what's changed the last few minutes in your
Saka
thinking?
pamaminitsi apfuura aya chii chachinja mukufunga kwako?
What's changed? No,
Chii
I understand
chachinja?
something's changed, but what has changed? And why has it changed?
Chii chachinja uye sine mhaka yechachinja?
Understanding that period of time, I guess
Kunzwisisa
I just
period
figured
yenguva
that that
iyoyo
Sunday law
ndofunga kuti
period of time came
ndangoona kuti
around the Sunday
sunday law
law
period of time
on both ends of
inotenderedza
it,
sunday
as
law
opposed to after the point.
as
So
opposed to after the point.
if this line is
Saka
the
kana line
Sunday law
iri
period,
law period yesunday law,
yeah,
Yeah.
you're saying that
uri kuti
when I
iwewe
asked the question, what's the
pandabvunza mubvunzo
waymark,
wekuti waymark racho nderipi,
you would have done that.
waizoita izvi.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I would
hongu
have. I don't know why. That
ndofunga
was
kuti
what was in my
ndozvandaizoita,
head.
handizivi kuti nemhaka yei, ndozvazviri musoro mangu.
Obviously, it's wrong.
Ndoona kuti zviri wrong.
So if I were to ask you this,
Kana dai ndaikubvunza izvi,
we will understand what TOE is, time of the end.
TOE toinzwisisa
Yeah.
kuti chii tese.
I'm not picking on you, Christine. Anybody can answer.
Handisi kureva
So
iwewe
if the
zvikristiani,
time
munhu
of the
anogona
end,
kupindura.
does
of the
anybody
end.
disagree that the time of the end
Pane anorambirana here kuti
is,
time of the
according
end
to it's a
maererano
spirit prophecy definition, is a period of
spiritual
time?
prophet definition
Does
inguva,
anybody disagree with
iperiod
that?
yenguva. Pane anorambirana
Time
nazvo
of
here.
the end is a period
Time
of
of the
time.
end inguva, iperiod yenguva.
In the past, in our movement, we've done
Kumashure movement yedu
numerous, I
takamboita
can't say a whole study on it, but this concept
zvidzidzo
has come up
zvakawanda.
over and over
Concept
again.
iyi
It's one of
inoramba ichidzoka,
the foundational
ndiyo imwe
concepts
concept iri
or
foundational
models that
kana
we
kuti
have
model
in our
yatinayo
movement about
movement yedu
how these
maererano
lines have
nekuti
been
malines aya
created.
akagadzirwa sei.
And one of the premises that it's been
Imwe
built upon
premise
is that the time of the end
yakavakirwa
is a
nayo
period
yekuti
of
time of the
time.
end period yenguva.
Okay, so no one's commenting, so I'm going to
Saka
assume we
hapana
all
akomenta, saka
either
ndoassume
know
kuti
that,
mose either
or
munozviziva
if it's the first time you've
kana kuti
heard of
kana iri
it,
first time
that you
yekuzvinzwa
agree with it.
kuti unobvumirana
So
nazvo.
if you were to take the
Saka
time, you
kana
could go into
waitora
the spirit of
nguva
prophecy,
waizoenda
and
muspirit
if
of
someone wants to do
prophecy,
it now, they can put it
kana
on the
paine
chat.
anoda kuzviita anogona kuzviisa pachat.
I'm going to paraphrase, but Ellen White will say
Ndichangoparaphrase asi
that we are
Ellen White
living
anoti tiri
in the
kurarama
time of the end.
munguva yekupedzesera.
And that was one of the proofs that we
Ndo
used to
imwe proof
use, the
yataimboshandisa
proof text, to
kuproof
say that
text
the
kuti
time of the end is a
time of the
period of
end
time.
iperiod yenguva.
So, Christine, if that's
Saka Christine,
if that's correct, the time of the
kana
end.
zviri correct kuti time of the end,
If we just go
kana
to
tikangoenda
Ellen White's version of
kuversion yaEllen
history,
White yenhoroondo,
if I were to say,
kana dai
where would you
ndaitini
place
waiisa
the
papi
time of the end waymark?
waymark yetime of the
Where would
end,
you place it on that line?
palaini iroro waiisa papi
At the beginning.
pekutanga.
So you would do this.
Saka iwe waiita
Yeah.
izvi hongu.
So can you see that your understanding of
Saka
the time
unoona
of the
here
end
kuti kunzwisisa
model,
kwako
which is
kwemodel yetime
line
of
number
the
2, the
end
bottom line,
inova line
and
yechi2
your model
yepazasi
for the Sunday law look
nemodel
different.
yesunday law
Yeah.
yako zvakasiyana
But conceptually,
asi kana uchifunga
we're saying the
nezvazvo
same thing. We've just changed the
tikutaura zvinhu
title.
zvakangofanana
We've
asi
just gone from
tangoshinja
time of the
title,
end to Sunday
tikangobva
law,
patime
or
of the end tikaenda
either
pasunday
way.
law kana
But the
either way.
phrase or the statement is
Asi
exactly the
phrase
same.
kana statement chinhu
I
chakangofanana
agree.
hongu
Okay,
ndinotenda.
so that was I
Okay.
only said that so that you could see
Ndazvitaura kuti
that
ugone kuona kuti
somewhere in the back of your mind
pamwe
that
mashure
you
mepfungwa dzako
knew
kuti
that when we
waizviziva
talk about the time of the
patinotaura
end as a
nezvetime of the
waymark,
end sewaymark
it would be at the
inge
beginning
riri
of that
kwekutanga
dispensation or that
kwedispensation
period.
iroro kana period iyoyo.
Yeah, I agree.
hongu ndinobvuma
Okay.
I don't
izvozvo.
know why I got it all mixed up.
Handisei
It's fine.
ndakazvikanyanisa,
I'm really
hazviri
glad
right.
that we were able to clear that up.
Ndinotenda kuti takagona
Okay.
kuzviclear izvi.
So
Okay, so
if we go back to your statement then,
tadzokera
if I
kutaura
were to
kwako,
ask you
kana
now,
ndaikubvunza
where do
izvezvi
you want to put,
izvezvo unoda
where would
kuisa
you put Sunday law?
Sunday
Would
law
it be
unoisa
1, 2,
papi
3, or 4?
1 2 3 kana 4
Probably 3.
pamwe
Okay,
Where
so
it
3
starts.
Okay, yeah.
ainotanga.
We all agree that we're talking about the start.
Tese
Yeah.
tikubvumirana kuti
Hopefully
tikutaura
we're all on the same page as
kutanga
that.
kwayo
Okay,
ndoimba kuti
so
tese
it's
tikubvumirana.
interesting
Saka zviri
that
interesting
you've moved from
kuti wabva
November the 5th
naNovember 5
to July 18,
ukaenda naJuly 18,
and your marker for
zvakare maka
the
yako
Sunday law
yeSunday law
was, I
yanga
picked up three things. I don't know
ndanhonga zvinhu zvitatu.
I'm not asking you to change at the moment, but did I get correct? You had voting,
Wanga ine
decision, and
voting,
everyone.
sarudzo nemunhu wese.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that
That's
would
fine.
change to,
Yeah. My question was not going to be,
Mubvunzo wangu wanga
obviously
usiri
there'll be some
wekuti
change. My question is,
mubvunzo wangu
why
ndewekuti
have you picked
nemhaka yei
voting
wanhonga
as the marker
kuvhota
for a
semaka
Sunday law?
yeSunday law?
Why have you picked voting?
Nemhaka yei
this is
wapika
kind of like a
kuvhota?
test because you're writing down your answer.
Nekuti inoita
This is,
test,
you're
uri
making
kunyora
that
mhinduro
decision. You're
yako.
saying,
Uri
okay, this
kuita
is my
sarudzo iyoyo,
answer.
uri
This is
kuti
what I'm going
ndo
with.
answer
This is
yangu,
my decision.
izvi ndo zvandiri kuenda nazvo,
And they did that at the
ndosarudzo yangu.
RNC too.
Vakazviitawo zvakare.
Sure.
Maybe not. I don't know how they do it,
Asiri
how they
zvandisito
vote,
vanozviita
but
sei, handisito
they make that
vanosarudza sei,
decision,
asi
right?
vanoita sarudzo iyoyo.
So why are
Sandiso
you
here.
saying that
Okay, saka sei uri
the
kuti
marker for a Sunday
maka
law
yeSunday law
is voting
kuvhota
as opposed to something else?
zvopikisana nechimwe chinhu?
Why does
It's where you make,
where did you get the concept that
Pfungwa iyi
voting
yekuvhota
is the
wakaiwana kupi
thing
kuti
that you look for
ndo chinhu
as an
chaunotarisa
external event to
seexternal
define?
event kudefina.
We'll call it the beginning
Tichataura
of
kuti
the Sunday
kutanga
law,
kweSunday law
as opposed to
zvopikisana
the death of somebody
kana
or
kuti
a
kufa
major
kwemunhu
riot,
kana kuti riot hombe
or in fact a law
kana kuti mutemo
or a Supreme Court
kana kuti
decision. Why
sarudzo
would it be
yeSupreme Court.
voting? Why would
Nemhaka yei
voting the
kuri
one that you
kuvhota,
would say is the marker
kuvhota
for the Sunday law?
kwaungati ndiyo maka yeSunday law.
in my understanding, for me, it's
Kunzwisisa
people,
kwangu
individuals are
kuti vanhu
choosing.
maindividuals vari kusarudza,
They're choosing, freedom
vari
over
kusarudza freedom
equality.
pamusoro peequality.
They have to make, individuals have to make this choice.
Maindividuals vanofanira kuita sarudzo
And
iyi.
the way I see it is that voting
Kuona
is
kwandinozviita
making that choice.
kuvhota
I suppose you
kurikuita
could do
sarudzo
writing
iyi.
also, because
Kunogona
that's
kunge
the
kuri
choice,
kunyorawo
but
zvakare
that's
nekuti
not
isarudzo, asi
what happened. I mean, I guess
so
it could have been
zvakaitika.
January 6th, but
Ndofunga kuti yaigona kunge iri
I
January
I
6,
think that was just,
but
I don't know. But to me,
handinyatsosiva.
it's like a test,
But
like
kwandiri
Rick
zvinoita
sitting down at
test.
a desk and
Rika akagara
filling in your
padesk
answers. You're by
uchinyora
voting,
maanswers ako,
you're
uri
writing out your
kuvhota, uri
answer.
kunyora maansa ako.
So I
Saka
could be totally
ndogona
wrong.
kunge ndiri wrong zvachose hangu.
Sure.
Ndizvo
So you don't think rioting fits the criteria?
saka haufungi kuti
You said maybe it was
mariot
January 6th,
anofita
maybe a
criteria.
riot.
Pamwe
Does that mean
maybe
that you
January
think
6 pane
rioting could be
riot,
the
saka
marker?
zvoreva
Or
kuti
you just don't
riot
think
inogona
it's...
kunge
I
iri
want to know
maka
what the
here.
characteristics are. I'm not asking just
Ndinoda
you.
kuziva macharacteristics ndeapi,
So
asi
I'm going to
kungobvunza
move
iwewe.
to... let me... Troy, are you able to
Rega
speak, or
ndimbobvunza
are
mumwe
you?
munhu.
Is it
Troy,
you
unokwanisa
just
kutaura here
chat?
kana kuti uri kungoita chat?
Go ahead. I've got. Is that
Fambira mberi. Ndi
Ines or
Ines here
Linus?
kana kuti Ines.
Hi, happy Sabbath, Dr. Parminder. This
Happy
is Lana.
Sabbath. Ndinodhibhamidha ndilana.
I was just thinking maybe it's more
Ndachingofunga
like a
kuti
bell
pamwe
curve with the
zvakaita kunge bell curve,
harvest points
harvest
being
point,
peaking at certain point
pari kunhongwa
and
pane imwe
being
nguva
having the end, just like any bell
pokupedzesera,
curve having the end,
sezvakangoita bell curve imwe
beginning and the end,
ine
with
kutanga
the
nekupedzesera,
end being close of probation and the
pokupedzesera kuri
beginning.
close of
This is
probation.
where in my mind, it's
Mupfungwa dzangu
I'm thinking sometimes
ndikufunga sometimes
2016
2016
maybe, and peaking somewhere
then peaking
between the
kunhonga kunozoitwa pamwe
between the
pakati pe
I'm debating whether
ndiri
it's
kudhibheta kuti
November the 5th
November 5
being the
here
peak,
paripo
but
papeak.
I'm not sure about
Asi
exactly where would the bell curve
kuti exactly bell
peak
curve
at,
iyi
but
peak yacho
I'm
inenge
thinking it's
ipapi.
more like a bell curve.
So, Spoken's a true scientist.
Wataura
Now moved on to bell
semuscientist
curve.
kwazvokadi.
So I'm hoping
Taenda
everyone else
kumabell
understands
curve.
what a bell curve is.
Ndovimba kuti munhu wese ari kunzwisisa kuti bell curve chii.
We'll just do a quick bell curve
Tichangonyora bell
for
curve
those who aren't aware of it.
nevasingazivi
So
nezvayo.
bell curve is the distribution.
Bell curve i distribution.
And Kind of looks something like that, I guess.
Inoradzika yakada
Is that a
kudai
fair bell curve?
sechimwe chinhu. Ndiyo bell curve iri fair here?
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Okay.
Izvozvo.
So this would be the Sunday law.
Saka inenge iri Sunday law.
Oops, I don't know why I did that. And this would be the close of probation.
Kuri kufarwa kwemutsa.
Yeah.
Hongu.
Yeah. And you said you don't know where the bell
Ukati
curve would
hauzi kuti bell curve
reach its maximum.
inosvika pamaximum payo
Yes.
papi.
Are you sure you don't know?
Haunyatsiziva kuti
Well,
hauzivi here?
I'm thinking that it's
Conceptually.
November 5th.
Ndaichifunga kuti
Let's go
November 5.
conceptually.
Ngatimbotaurayi tichiita conceptually.
At the loud cries that would.
Loud cry ndizvozvo.
Are you asking me or telling me?
Uri kundibvunza here kuti uri kundiudza? Ndiri kubvunza.
Oh, come on, I ask questions.
Ndindobvunza mubvunzo.
Okay, let's take the phrase or the word swelling.
Phrase kana vara rekuti swelling.
What does the word swelling mean?
Vara rekuti swelling rinorevei?
Expanding.
Expanding. And I don't know what the opposite of swelling is.
Handizivi kuti opposite yeswelling.
Shrinking.
Maybe
Shrink.
shrinking.
We'll go to shrinking then.
Totaura shrinking.
So I don't know.
Saka handizivi.
We'll leave that shrinking for the moment.
Tombosiya shrinking iyi kwechinguva.
Swelling.
Swelling iyi.
Why did I pick the word swelling?
Nemhaka yei ndataura vara rekuti swelling.
It is actually from a quote from
Inobva
Ellen White's,
kuquotation.
one of Ellen White's quotes.
Paraphrase
Ellen
it for
White.
us.
Iite paraphrase.
Sorry, I can't
You can't?
remember.
Handichakwanisi
Can someone
kurangarira.
paraphrase
Anogona kutiitira
where this term
paraphrase here
swelling comes from?
kuti nyaya yekuti swelling iyi inobva kupi?
It swells into a loud cry.
Inoswela kuzvimba kuita loud
Does
cry.
that sound okay for you?
Zvinonzwika zviri okay kwauri here?
That's great.
Okay.
Ndizvozvo.
So Elaine said it
Saka Elaine ati it
swells
swells.
to a loud cry. What is
Ati
the
it
it?
swells into the loud cry. Chiri kunzi it ichi chii?
Message?
Hanzi
The
message.
message.
Zvikanzi message hongu.
What is this message?
Imessage ipi?
So I think there's two messages. The one that is
Ndinofunga kuti kune
the message of
maviri.
equality,
Imwe yekuti message
and on the
yequality.
opposite side is the message of
Opposite side kune message
small government.
yesmall government.
Yeah. So
What did you say about the
inequality.
government?
Wotaura kuti chine zve
Small government.
hanzi
Small
small
government.
government.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I'm not sure what small government means.
Handinzisi kuti
Well, you know, the
hurumende diki
the
zviri kureva.
states' rights to give the rights for the states to decide
Ma-state
about
rights kupa
abortions.
ma-rights kuma-states kuti vasarudze nyaya
Okay,
So
so
yema
that's
basically inequality. Sorry.
inequality.
okay. Who gives the loud cry?
Okay, ndiani anopa loud cry?
Traditionally, I think we always saw that it is the advent,
Traditionally
the
ndofunga kuti
movement.
taingoona
Us.
kuti
So
i-movement.
you say traditionally, so
Isusu.
you've got a different view now?
Wati
It's someone else?
traditionally wane muono wakasiyana here?
Well,
Pane munhu anoipa here?
Or instead
the
of?
thing is, we're not giving any message.
Nyaya
Well,
ndeyekuti
not to
hatina
say we're
message
not.
yatiri kupa.
We
Kwete kuti
are,
hatisi
but
kupa, tiri kupa hedu
nobody
but
is listening.
hapana ari kuteerera.
We'll put that thought aside because
Tomboisa
that seems
pfungwa
to
iyi
trouble a
paside.
lot of people.
Nekuti
To be honest,
inoshungurudza
I'm
vanhu
not sure why it
vakawanda.
does, but it does seem
Handisiti
to.
nemhaka yechishungurudza vanhu asi zvinoita kunge
So when you say
zvinoshungurudza vanhu.
traditionally, it's
Kana
us.
uchiti
Are you saying
traditionally
there isn't
tisu
anybody else? It is
kuti
just
hapana
us
mumwe
who
munhu
gives the loud
tisu
cry,
chete
but
tinopa
you're
loud
not sure
cry.
what that means
But
anymore.
hauzivi kuti zvinorevei. Hauchazivi kuti
Well,
zvinorevei.
we know that the media
Tinoziva kuti
serves a
media
great does the majority
inoita majority
of parsing out of what's happening so that people can have a choice.
taura kuti chii chiri kuitika
So
kuti vanhu vagogona kuva
Yeah,
nesarudzo.
but they're not giving a loud cry, are they?
Asi havasi kupa
no,
loud
they're
cry.
not.
Vari kupa here?
I mean, in a
Kwete.
serious sense,
Nenzira iri serious.
if we could call them,
Kana
which we've done
tichigona
in the past, which
kuvadaidza
I have done in the
zvatakamboita
past,
kumashure
I
inini
don't mean to
zvandakamboita
sound derogatory,
kumashure.
they're like second-rate
Handidi
prophets.
kuita kunge ndiderogatory but ma-prophets vari secondary.
So I'm not trying to
Saka
undermine or
hanzi kugona
diminish what
kudzikisira
their purpose is in
basa
life,
ravo
but they're not
muupenyu
giving them
nderipi.
the
Asi
message,
havasi kupa message.
are they?
Vari kupa here?
No, they're not.
kwete havazi.
Okay, so
Okay.
if they're not giving the
Saka vasiri
message,
kupa
they may be
message
giving a version of it
vanogona
or a
kupa
shadow of
version
it.
yayo
They may
kana
be
shadow
seeing
yayo.
things,
Vanogona
they
kuva
may
vari
be
kuona
commenting
zvinhu
on what's
kana
going on,
kukomenta pane zviri
but they're not
kuitika
giving the
asi havasi
message.
kupa message.
So if we're giving the message,
Kana
is anybody
tiri
else giving the
kupa
message?
message pane mumwe munhu ari kupa message here.
You mean on the opposite side?
Unoreva
The opposite
side here
message?
kana kuti
Oh,
opposite
I think
message.
they are.
I think
There's,
vari kupa.
there's only a couple of groups in the world. There's
Panongori
us,
nemapoka mashoma
there's
munyika.
the
Pane
threefold
isusu,
union,
pane
and there's
threefold
the
union,
media. The
pane
media comes in two
vemedia.
parts, I guess.
Media inouya
Out
nemaparts
of all the
maviri
groups that we could
ndofunga.
think of, who's giving
Pamagroups
this
ese atinogona
message?
kufunga nezvavo. Ndeani
This
ari kupa
message
message
only
iyi.
us.
Message iyi ndisu
Okay, so it's
chete.
us. So
Okay,
we're going to
saka
give a
ndisu.
message,
Saka tichapa
and our
message.
message begins
Message
when?
yedu inotanga rini.
1989.
You
That's
told me you said
1989.
there's a bell curve that goes
Iwo
from
wataura
like
kuti pane
0
bell curve
to
inobva
maximum 0
pazero
again.
yoita maximum
And you said
yosvika
it was a
pazero.
Sunday law.
Ukati Sunday law.
But our message begins in 1989, but
Message yedu inotanga pana
the equality
1989.
message starts
Asi message yequality
2019.
inotanga
So what's this
2019.
picture that you got me to draw here?
Saka picture
It
wati
doesn't mean
ndidraw
anything.
iyi inoreve chii?
Maybe I don't know.
Okay, I'm not trying to get you confused.
Handisi kuzama kuti
The
uve
loud
confused.
cry.
Asi loud cry.
When does the loud cry begin?
Loud cry inotanga papi?
Anybody can answer. I'm not picking on you. Anybody can
anogona
answer. When does the
kungopindura,
loud
handisi
cry
kungoreva
begin?
iwewe. Loud cry inotanga papi?
At the Sunday law.
PaSunday law.
Okay, so who was that?
Ndiani yeye?
Did
It
you want
was
to give a name?
Elisa.
Oh,
Ndialisa.
So
Sorry,
Alyssa,
I moved and something happened. Yeah, it's Alyssa.
if it begins at the Sunday law,
Saka kana ichitanga paSunday law.
then it doesn't begin before the Sunday law.
Saka haitangi
And
mumashure
so
meSunday law.
this bell curve is correct,
Saka bell
as you
curve iri
drew it
correct.
for us.
Sezvo
So the
watidhorera.
message
Saka
isn't
message
isn't a message that goes from the time of the end.
haisi message inotanga iri
It's a
patime of
message
the
that's
end.
specific
Message iri
to
specific
this final dispensation, which we
dispensation
might
iri
call the
final
harvest of the
yatinogona
Nethinims
kudaidza
or
kuti
the
harvest
Sunday law
yemanethinims kana
dispensation.
kuti dispensation reSunday law.
So what would that message
Saka
be then?
message iyi inenge iri yekuti kudii?
I think it starts before this, before the elections,
Sandofunga kuti inotanga mumashure meelection.
and the messages.
Message iyi
Let's leave the word election. You're saying it
ngatimbosiyai
starts
vareva
before the
kuti
Sunday
election
law.
wati inotanga before Sunday law.
Yes,
Hongu.
true.
So the Sunday law message starts.
Saka Sunday
So
law message.
the loud cry
Saka loud cry
starts before the Sunday law.
inotanga before Sunday law.
Yes,
Hongu.
correct.
Ndizvozvo.
No, sorry.
Kwete sorry.
There is loud cry for different
Pane
dispensations,
maloud
for
cry
different groups of people, right?
yemagroup
So
akasiyana siyana.
for the world, the
Saka
loud cry
kunyika
starts at Sunday law.
loud cry
Okay,
inotanga
so
paSunday law.
we're okay with this picture
Okay,
then.
saka picture iri right.
It's the one that you gave it.
Ndiyo
You gave us.
yawatipa.
Just want to make sure that you're happy with
Ndangoita
it.
make sure kuti
That you're settled
Yeah,
into.
I think so.
wasetla mairi.
Okay,
Alright.
so
Saka
the message
message
we give the message,
tinopa message
not anyone else.
haasi mumwe
There
nemunje.
is a sense of consternation in the movement
Pane sense
that
yeconstellation
we're no longer
movement
sure
yokuti hatichanyatsokuziva
what this message is and who we
message
give
iyi
it to,
ndeipi uye kuti
because
tinoipa
there's this
kunani.
idea that we're not going to be
Nokuti
crying
pane
to
pfungwa iyi
anybody.
yekuti hapana watinenge
But I'm not trying to
tichichemera.
make that point.
Asi haisiyo pfungwa yandoda kutsvaya
So
kuita. Saka
are you happy to call this the loud cry?
unofara here kuidaidza iyi tichiti loud cry?
I think so.
Ndofunga kudaro.
Does anybody disagree with this picture that we now have?
Pane anorambirana nepicture here iyi yatanayo iyi.
Give you just a moment to think about it.
Chingonipa kanguva
Anybody
kekufunga
disagree?
nezvayo. Pane anorambirana nazvo iyi.
I disagree.
Ini ndinorambirana.
Oh, you disagree with Lena.
Anorambirana
Now, why
naLena.
do you disagree with Lana for? Which bit do you
Unorambirana
disagree with?
naLana nemhaka iyi. Ndepapa unorambirana.
What
Sorry
I
about
disagree with
Oh.
is that if you look at a swelling
then to me, you put it to music, it's a crescendo. It builds and builds and builds. I don't see that at any point for probation closes that it diminishes or starts to, as you've written there, shrink.
If I could comment. So this bell curve, the units are the number of souls being saved based on the decisions that they are making. So it is not the message as in terms of the voice of the movement, but rather it's the units of the people, the souls being harvested, because this is a harvest time, right, between the Sunday law and close of probation. So I agree with you in terms of crescendo, because but it refers to the voice of the movement. But in this bell curve, the units of the area under the curve is the number of souls being harvested.
No, I disagree. Because since we don't have definitions for units of souls, only the amount in which the message is swelling.
Okay, let's try and get to a little bit of unity. So when I put shrinking, I asked opposite swelling was shrinking, and Lana graciously gave us the word shrinking, and I did say that something along the lines that let's put that just to one side at the moment, because I thought someone would pick up on this, that when you look at the way Ellen White speaks about this, and if you go back to 1844, you can go back to other histories too, that you see that the cry, the message, doesn't lessen after the loud cry. It only just continues to rise. So if we were to do this, Sunday law, close of probation, we'll put a big question mark here. And we've got loud cry. And we'll do this, which is how we always do it. And we'll say that this is the message. Is that okay for you, Bob?
Yes. Thank you.
So if we're okay with that, and I think Lana says that that's okay for her, then she proposed, said, actually that bell curve isn't about the strength of the message or its intensity. What it's actually dealing with is how many people may be saved during this dispensation. And I think Alyssa has said we don't actually that's speculation because we don't really know that. Is that a fair summary of what that curve was meant to represent and how we view it?
Fair to me.
Yep. Alyssa, have I represented it fairly?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we won't discuss about the salvation of individuals at this moment because there's still a question about the loud cry and how that even operates, who we're crying to, or if there even is one. So if we go to this model here, if we said that the loud cry is this, and there is a swelling, the problem with this model is after the loud cry, Ellen White doesn't give sort of much of an indication about what happens after that with respect to this swelling. So my only point I want to pick up on this is, oops. If this was July 18, and that was number 3, I think, would the loud cry be November? Does anybody, do any of us think that it would fit the criteria as the Sunday law has progressed to such a degree now, there's a loud cry going on.
I think so.
Ndofunga kudaro.
I disagree with that.
Ndorambirana
Who was
nazvo.
that?
Ndiani?
It's Jackie.
Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Happy Sabbath. I disagree. Go
Why
ahead
do you
and ask me.
disagree? Go ahead. Why do you disagree?
Nemhaka yei uchirambirana nazvo.
Because I don't think the message is defined for the people
Nekuti handifungi kuti message
outside of this
yava-defined
message.
kuvanhu vari kunze kwemeseji ino.
It hasn't been defined yet.
Haisati
It's not
yadhifainwa
a
zvakatsanangurika.
call coming out of Babylon,
Haisi rukoko rwokuti
a
budai
loud cry.
mubhabhironi kuchema
Okay,
kukuru.
so what you have I understood you correctly? You said we
Ndakunzwisisa
haven't
chaizvo here.
defined
Wati
properly to
hatisati
the
tadhifainwa
world.
zviri
If we just call
proper
it the world, the
kunyika,
people on the outside,
vanhu vari kunze,
what the test
kuti
is.
test chii.
Yes, exactly.
Hongu ndizvozvo.
Okay,
Okay.
Lana,
Lana,
why did you say November 5th?
say what November 5?
I think people have already had enough
Ndofunga kuti vanhu vanga
knowledge
vato
and background about the
neruzivo
people they
rwakakwana
were voting for.
nebackground yekuti vanhu vava vari kuvhotera ani.
And
I just want to stop you for a second.
Ndangokumisa kwekanguva.
This isn't about the people.
Izvi hazisi
This is
zvevanhu,
about us.
The
izvi
message.
ndezveisusu.
Why are you saying that November the 5th
Nemhaka
was
yekuti November
the
5
loud
ndiyo
cry?
yanga iri loud cry.
Everything has swelled to the
Zvinhu
loud
zvese
cry.
zvaswela kuenda kuloud cry.
okay, I see what you mean. So
Okay, ndakuona
basically,
zvamukutaura.
if we
Saka
have been
basically,
giving the
kana
message,
tatiri
then
kupa message,
this may have been true.
then izvi
But
zvaigona kunge zviri chokwadi.
practically,
Asi
the message
practically,
was
message
internal,
yairi mukati,
but
Why?
not
asi
external.
kwete
Is that right?
external. Ndizvo here.
Why were we not given the message?
Nei mamusiri kupa message?
I mean, we didn't have public evangelism
Tatisina
that
public
is
evangelism.
traditional kind of, not to say traditional, but
If we did,
explicitly.
Those
if we were
traditional
into
explicitly.
evangelism,
Kana tiri muevangelism.
what would we have said on November the 5th?
November 5 taizoti kudii?
That if you're voting for Trump, you're
Kuti kana
voting,
muri
you're
kuvhotera Trump,
about to receive a mark of the beast.
maakuda kutoreceive mark of the beast.
And we would have known long before the loud cry
Taizoziva
what? Because
loud cry isati yasvika chii?
the
Nekuda
Sunday
kwekuti
law begins
Sunday law
long before that.
inotanga nguva yakareba before izvozvo.
Is that correct?
Ndizvo here?
Yes.
Hongu.
And when did this movement come to an understanding of when this dispensation began?
Movement iyi yakanzwisisa rini kuti dispensation inotanga rini?
1989.
Hanzi
No, the
1989.
dispensation
Kwete,
is Sunday law.
dispensation reSunday law.
When did we come to a position that we knew when the Sunday law was?
Takasvika paposition
Formalization.
iyoyo rini? Paformalization.
Formalization of what?
Formalization yei?
Yeah, I was thinking out loud. My mic
Okay.
was on.
That's fine.
Ndichingofunga mic yangu yange
I
iri
guess what
on.
I'm asking, Lena, is that
Zvandiri
for us
kufunga
to give a
lana
loud cry,
ndezvekuti kuti tikone
should we
kupa
not have
loud
a
cry
conscious understanding
hatifaniri
as a
tiine
movement
kunzwisisa
that
kuri
we're actually
conscious
in the
here
dispensation
semovement kuti
at least
tatowo
sometime before the
mudispensation
loud
at
cry
least nguva
was
isho
given?
before loud cry yapiwa?
Would you agree with that?
Unotenderana nazvo here?
Yes, correct.
Hongu zviri correct.
And beginning 2024,
Kutanga
right the way to
2024
November,
kusvika kuna
when
November
would you mark
waizomaka
that the
papi
movement had a
kuti
consciousness?
movement
We're in the Sunday
yanga
law
yaane
now. We're
consciousness
here. We
yeruzivo
have
rwekuti
arrived.
tava musunday law tasvika.
And by the time November comes, on
Panozosvika
November 4th,
November
5th,
pana November
6th, we
4
would have
5 6
gone to the world
taizoenda
or
kunyika
shouted in our room saying,
tonodeedzera chaizvo
told you
mumarumu
so.
kuti ndakakuudzai.
Yeah. I guess it would have been July 18th.
ndofunga
Maybe.
kuti inenge iri July 18 pamwe
Oh, actually, even earlier than
kana
that.
kuti
Sometime.
kumashure mayo
So the movement was stating there
saka
were
movement
teachers in our movement. There was
yaitotaura
a
paiva
collective
nevadzidzisi mumovement
consciousness
medu
that we're in the Sunday law.
vaitova nekunzwisisa kwakabatana
Pre-July,
kuti
in July,
isande lo here July
post-July.
isati yasvika muna July
I think
mberi
we had the
kwaJuly ndofunga
understanding
kuti
that we are
taiva
in the
nekakunzwisisa
Sunday
tiri
law
musunday law
period.
period
In which month was that?
mumwedzi upi iwoyo
I can't tell you, but I remember all the thesis
chagoni
presentation where she
kukutaurira
says that
kati
we are
ndorangarira presentation yavo tatesi yavaitaura vachiti
something about that we were just about to walk into the
vachiti
Sunday law
tobva
period.
totosvika
I've been saying that for
kufamba
20
musunday law
years.
period indandi kuzvitaura
Elder Jeff said
kwemakore
that for 20
20
years before me.
elder Jeff akazvitaura makore 20 years
Elder Tess
before
would have
ini
said that for another 20 years
elder Tess
until
vaigona
the
kuzvitaura
waymark
dzimwe
hit.
20 years zvakare
To say
kusvikira
that we're
waymark
just about,
razorwa
it's round the
kutaura
corner,
kuti havo sunday law yobva yasvika
we don't know how big those corners are.
hatisivi kuti makona aya anenge achinzi yobva yasvika anenge akakura sei.
Elder Parminder,
Elder Parminder
Who's speaking?
ndina kutaura
this is Susan.
ndisusan.
Hi, Susan.
Hi Susan.
Hi.
Oh, before I ask you, so,
ndinzanda
do
kubvunza
you
Susan
get the point I'm trying to make, Lena?
wanzwisisa
That,
point yandinotaura
Yes,
Lena
yes, I
back-
do.
if you go back
kuti
22,
ukadzokera 2022
2022,
elder
and Elder Tess is saying the son-in-law is just around the corner.
sunday law yava pakona yakusvika
Does that mean next week,
zvinoreva kuti
next
iriko
year,
next
5
week here
years?
kana next year kana kuti
Yeah, we did
5
not.
years anosvika
I don't recall any
handicharangariri
specific
information
information
specific
about that. So
pamusoro maererano
can't
nazvo
tell.
saka handigoni
Okay, so I'm not trying to make myself to be
Handisi kuzama
anybody or anything,
kuzviita
but
mumwe munhu
someone's
kana
asked me the
chimwe chinhu asi pane
question,
munhu andifunza
when do I think the Sunday law
ndinofunga
waymark
kuti
is?
waymark yesunday law
And
iriko rini
I've